My nanny's daughter sends me a bag of local specialties every month. As soon as I receive it, I turn around and prepare to throw it in the trash, all because I have been reborn. In my previous life, the nanny's daughter was bound to a system that allowed her to exchange these local specialties for my family's wealth and fortune. From then on, the nanny's daughter's business flourished, and before long, she became the richest person in City A. Meanwhile, my family's business plummeted until it went bankrupt and fell into debt. In the end, my family and I were tragically driven to our death step by step by debt collectors who came to our door after being reborn. Since the nanny's daughter is so fond of swapping fortunes with others, I might as well grant her wish, so I smiled and gave the local specialty she gave me to the ragged scavenger who was rummaging through the trash can. Yo. This is a local specialty I brought back for you this time. It's really delicious, and I'm sure you'll love it. Yuanli eagerly approached, smiling as she handed me a bag of local specialty. She is the daughter of my family's nanny, Aunt Zhang, and often comes to my house to visit her mother, then brings me some local specialties from her hometown. Her mother, Aunt Zhang, immediately chimed in upon seeing this. Oh, this is the best local specialty from our hometown. Our Lily is really thoughtful, Miss Xiao, you know. This bag of stuff is not cheap, many people can't bear to buy it. Aunt Zhang spoke quite loudly, and saying so much was just to emphasize to me that this bag of local specialties was very expensive. If it were me in the past, I would have been deeply moved and then taken out something expensive from my own home as a return gift for them, but now I am reborn, and I know exactly what ill intentions they harbor by doing this. They are merely trying to use these local specialties to steal my family's fortune. Through some unknown means, Yuanli has bound herself to a system that allows her to exchange my family's fortune for these local specialties. Every time she gives me a local specialty, as long as I use it, my family's fortune will transfer to her. Aunt Zhang's husband passed away early, and she raised her daughter alone. Because my father and Aunt Zhang were from the same hometown, he felt sorry for her having no one to rely on, so he offered her a high salary to work at our home and treated her as kindly as family. Even the issue of Aunt Zhang's daughter Yuanli attending school in the city was resolved by my father. My father sent her daughter to the same prestigious school as me, which was the best in the area. He also thoughtfully covered all of Aunt Zhang's daughter's tuition and miscellaneous fees until she graduated from university. My parents often tell me, your Aunt Zhang has a hard time raising her child alone, so please take good care of Yuanli at school. I always listen to my parents and enjoy helping others. At school, I treat Yuan Li like my own sister, always thinking of her when I have something good, and as for her mother, Aunt Zhang, I treat her with the same respect and courtesy as I would my own elders. I never expected that these two people, whom my family and I had cared for with all our hearts, would harbor such ill intentions, ultimately leading to the destruction of my family. The story of the farmer and the snake has never truly disappeared. Thinking about the tragic deaths of my family and me in my previous life, I couldn't help but clench my fists, wishing I could tear apart this mother and daughter pair before my eyes. They don't deserve the kindness others show them. Seeing that I hadn't reached out to take the items for a while, Yuan Li's expression grew a bit impatient, but she still pretended to sound quite aggrieved as she said to me, Io, do you look down on these local specialties? I worked really hard to get them. Even though they can't compare to your limited edition luxury items, they still represent my heartfelt intentions. I specifically found them to give to you. Will you please accept them? Between the lines, she made it sound as if I were some kind of snob. Her mother, Aunt Zhang, also put on a stern face. Miss Simiao, it's not that I'm defending my daughter, but aren't you going a bit too far? Have you forgotten how Mr. and Mrs. usually educate you? I hadn't even said anything, and others were already lecturing me. My temper flared, and I didn't hold back either. I sneered at Aunt Zhang. Aunt Zhang, what kind of attitude is that? You're taking my family's salary, yet you dare to speak to me in that tone. Have you forgotten who the real master of this house is? Aunt Zhang instantly fell silent. I have always been gentle and kind to her, never uttering a harsh word. This was the first time I had spoken to her in such a formal tone, and Aunt Zhang was momentarily stunned. Perhaps my expression was too frightening, as even Yuan Li, standing nearby, dared not make another sound. She gently nudged her mother with her hand and gave a meaningful glance toward the local specialties she had brought. Those local specialties can be exchanged for my family's financial luck. They haven't achieved their goal yet, so they don't dare to offend me for now. Aunt Zhang realized this and lowered her posture, cautiously asking in a soft voice, Miss Xiao, do you still want these local specialties that my daughter Lily brought? For money, they sure know how to bend and stretch. Looking at the two people with ulterior motives in front of me, I just felt annoyed, but I still reached out and took the bag of local specialties. I'll accept these. Seeing me take the local specialties, the mother and daughter immediately showed smug smiles on their faces. They looked as if victory was already in their grasp, as if my family's property would soon become theirs for the taking. To avoid alerting anyone, I pretended not to have seen anything and simply took the bag of local specialties back to my room. Once back in my room, I closed the door and casually tossed the bag of local specialties into the trash bin. Having been reborn with a god's perspective, I naturally wouldn't use this bag of local specialties that would harm my entire family. In the room, my mind raced as I tried to come up with a plan. I'm no saint. When someone bullies me right at my doorstep, it's only fair that I fight back. If they dare to harm me or my family, I'll make Yuanli and her daughter regret ever being born. Just then, my friend Xiaoyu suddenly sent me a flurry of WeChat messages. Let me tell you, there's an uncle near my place who's really pitiful. His business ventures repeatedly failed, and when it came to finding a job, no one would hire him because of his physical disability. He managed to find some odd jobs, only to have his wages withheld by unscrupulous employers. To make matters worse, his parents fell ill and were bedridden, relying on him for daily care, so the man had no choice but to scavenge through trash bins every day to sell items for money. It's really too unlucky. How can someone's luck be this bad? Xiaoyu has always been kind-hearted, and her words are filled with sympathy for the uncle's misfortune. After reading it, I also felt that this uncle is indeed a bit down on his luck, with a streak of misfortune that seems almost cursed. I had a sudden inspiration and remembered the local specialty that Yuanli had given me. If that local specialty could help Yuanli exchange her financial luck, then if I gave that bag of local specialty to that unlucky uncle, wouldn't the person who ultimately exchanges financial luck with Yuanli become him? This way, it would be a win-win situation. Although Yuanli is not as wealthy as my family, she is still comfortably well off, and my dad also said that Yuanli is clever and won't do poorly in the future. If it had only been a matter of exchanging fortunes in my previous life, my family wouldn't have ended up broken and destroyed. It was only after Yuanli became wealthy that she secretly plotted against us, leading my family into such a desperate situation. She didn't just want to take our wealth, she also wanted to take our lives. If Yuanli and the uncle were to truly exchange their financial fortunes now, it would be enough to change the uncle's unfortunate life. Let's get to it. I immediately asked my friend Xiaoyu for the address of the uncle's house. Then I took that bag of local specialties out of the trash can and, while Aunt Zhang wasn't paying attention, carried it out the door. Following the address Xiaoyu gave me, I found the uncle near her house, dressed in rags and rummaging through a trash can. The uncle indeed looked quite down and out, utterly dejected, as if hardships had worn away all his edges. Fortunately, now it's up to me to change his fate. I walked up with a smile and asked, "Hello, uncle, these are local specialties someone gave to my family. There's a bit too much, and I can't use them all. Would you like to have some?" As I spoke, I handed the items to the uncle. The uncle looked at me excitedly upon hearing this. He carefully wiped his hands clean, then cautiously took it with both hands. The uncle thanked me sincerely. "Young lady, thank you so much." I smiled back. "No need to be polite, uncle. I'm just giving these things to those who need them. If I have more in the future, I'll bring them to you again." The uncle looked at me with a moved expression, his eyes reddening as he said, "Kind little girl, you will be blessed." I felt a bit embarrassed by the praise and could only smile in response, saying, "Uncle, your good luck is about to come too, and some people's good days are also coming to an end." After saying goodbye to the uncle, I went to the family company. My parents retired a few years ago and have been traveling the world, leaving the company entirely under my management. I had the company investigate what business Yuanli is currently involved in, then instructed our people to discreetly find someone to invest heavily in her venture to help her expand rapidly and become wealthy in a short time. The more she earns and the more successful she becomes, the greater her pain will be when she loses everything in the end. I want Yuanli to fall from the highest point and suffer a living hell. During this period, thanks to my team's heavy investment, Yuanli's business started making money at an astonishingly fast pace. After returning home, I would casually drop hints to Aunt Zhang, who was helping her daughter gather information. What a headache. Business at the company hasn't been good lately. Several projects we were planning to collaborate on have all fallen through. Money is really getting harder and harder to earn. Will the company be able to keep going? I haven't been resting well lately because of all my worries. Aunt Zhang, hearing my sighs and complaints, thought of her daughter who had been making a fortune recently and couldn't help but start to feel quite smug. She pretended to comfort me, saying, "Miss Xiao, don't be too upset. Business will slowly get better. In a few days, I'll have Lily bring you some more high-quality local specialties to help nourish your body." After saying this, Aunt Zhang deliberately avoided me and quietly called her daughter Yuanli, excitedly telling her about the trouble I was facing at the moment. They probably think that the local specialties they gave me are starting to take effect, and that's exactly the result I wanted, first, lull the enemy into a false sense of security, then it will be easier for me to take action against them. In fact, the local specialty that you only gave me did indeed work. My good friend Xiaoyu told me that her neighbor, the uncle, seems to have started having good luck recently, and his life has improved quite a bit. I was quite pleased to hear that. Thinking to myself that it was good those local specialties had worked. I had been thinking earlier that if those local specialties didn't work, I would use my own money to help the uncle. Logically speaking, now that the uncle's financial luck has improved, you only should start having bad luck, but that hasn't happened, because her current financial luck is just a false appearance I've invested in for her. Yet you only believed it and began to swell with pride. She thought that soon, all my family's money would be hers. Eager for quick success, you only started sending me local specialties even more frequently. I didn't refuse accepting them all, only to turn around and hand them over to the scavenger uncle. Uncle's life has improved now, no longer having to worry about going hungry one meal and full the next, so he feels a bit embarrassed to accept so many things from me. Miss Xiao, you're really too kind, you keep sending me so many things, and I'm starting to feel a bit embarrassed to accept them. And Miss Xiao, are you perhaps a fairy? Ever since I started receiving the things you sent, my luck has been getting better and better. Now, the money I earn is enough to support myself and my family quite comfortably. The once ragged and down and out uncle has now become somewhat spirited and confident. His demeanor has completely changed, as if he's a different person. After seeing this, I too felt very happy about the uncle's transformation. The uncle is also quite content with what he has, feeling that since he's living so well now, it would be greedy to keep accepting my gifts. Hearing the uncle say this made me even more convinced that I hadn't helped the wrong person, but I definitely need to give away these local specialties. So I discussed with the uncle, "Uncle, how about this? See if there are any people around you who are in great difficulty at home, and you can help me pass these on to them. You said these things can bring good luck, right? Please help me give them to those in need." After hearing my words, the uncle repeatedly agreed and kept praising me, saying, "Miss Xiao, you are truly a kind-hearted person. You will surely be blessed." I also smiled and replied, "Yes, I will have good fortune, and all of us will have good fortune. Those without good fortune are the ones with wolfish ambitions. If you only hadn't harbored ill intentions, she could have built a successful career with her own abilities, but she was too greedy, resorting to underhanded methods to covet what belongs to others. Then she can't blame me for using her financial luck to benefit all living beings. Having tasted success, you only began to expand the company's scale frantically while undertaking many projects simultaneously. She thought that once the system chose her, she was the chosen one, and everything would go smoothly for her. She even believed that after giving me the local specialties, with my family's financial luck to back her up, she would never suffer any losses. Indeed, given the speed at which my family's business is developing, within a year, my family will undoubtedly become the wealthiest in City A. And Yuan Li harbors the mindset of reaping the benefits without effort, attempting to steal my family's fortune through dishonest means and easily become the wealthiest in City A. However, to her disappointment, she is destined to fail because I never used the special local products she gave me. Instead, I passed them on to those in need. In the end, the winner of this game will only be me. Reborn. Days went by one after another. When Yuan Li's career reached its peak, I began to have the company withdraw its investments from her side. The massive scale of the company and the numerous ongoing major projects required a substantial amount of financial support. As soon as I withdrew the investments, Yuan Li's funding chain immediately ran into problems. With no other choice, she started using the money she had saved over the years to fill the gaps. However, due to the previous reckless expansion, problems quickly emerged, and the gaps grew larger and larger. Even if Yuan Li used up all the money she had previously earned, it wouldn't solve the problem. Yuan Li started to panic, wondering if something had gone wrong. Logically, it shouldn't have turned out this way. Just then, I stepped in again to give her a confidence boost. After finishing dinner at home, I chatted with Aunt Zhang and said, "Auntie, my company hasn't been doing well lately, and there are a lot of troubles. I feel like I can't hold on any longer. Could it be that my family's business is going to be ruined in my hands? I heard from a friend that your Lily is working on some project recently, and it's said to be very promising. If it succeeds, Lily might become the richest person in City A, and you'd be the mother of the richest person in City A. I heard from my experienced friends that Lily's project is going well. It's just the final touches left, and then it will be a success. If Yuan Li really succeeds in the future, could you ask her to help me out?" My words made Aunt Zhang's heart blossom with joy. Aunt Zhang didn't understand business matters, so she believed me when I said that, after all, I was famously known as a business prodigy in the area, and the people around me were also big shots. She felt that our judgment couldn't possibly be wrong. Most importantly, I had already accepted those special local products, so she thought it was normal for me to start having bad luck. When I mentioned that I wanted Yuanli to help me after she succeeded, Aunt Zhang pretended not to hear and casually brushed me off with a few words. Later, Aunt Zhang relayed my words to her daughter, Yuanli. Lily, Miss Xiao said that her company hasn't been doing well lately, and the business tycoons she knows are all optimistic about your project. Keep pushing, we're about to succeed. Yuanli, who had been feeling a bit uneasy, immediately felt a surge of energy upon hearing her mother say this. She exhausted all her connections outside to secure a massive loan, ready to take a gamble. Both mother and daughter believed that the reason their business was struggling now was due to the influence of those local specialties, and that financial luck had already shifted to them. They were just one step away from the future richest person in City A changing hands. It's just a temporary difficulty we're facing right now. It's best if they think that way. Listening to my subordinates report on the recent situation of Yuan Li's company, I gave a cold smile. She wants a loan, doesn't she? Help her find as many channels as possible and let her borrow from everywhere. I want her to realize that as easy as it is to take out a loan, that's how difficult it is to repay it. Advanced consumption comes at a cost. Just like that, with my secret assistance, Yuan Li's loan amount kept snowballing, growing larger and larger, reaching a frightening figure. But her project still couldn't be completed on time because the funding gap was simply too large, and she was already overwhelmed. So, in order to achieve success as soon as possible, Yuanli started sending me local specialties again. However, this time I refused because she is now a negative asset with no exchange value, and I didn't want her local specialties to harm others. Yuanli, I'm already tired of these local specialties of yours. There's no need to send me any more. Keep them for yourself. Hearing this, Yuanli was stunned. I used to never refuse her local specialties before, so why am I suddenly unwilling to accept them now? Yuanli, who was already on the verge of desperation, was on the brink of collapse. She couldn't accept my refusal and kept pushing the local specialties into my hands. No matter what, Aunt Zhang also knew the situation was not right and was getting anxious. She helped her daughter, Yuanli, trying to force those local specialties on me. Faced with this mother and daughter duo who were already in a state of frenzy, I didn't hold back either. I forcefully pushed the two of them away and sternly reprimanded them. Yuanli, this is my home, please mind your manners. When I say no, I mean no. And Aunt Zhang, I've put up with you for a long time. You've repeatedly offended me for the sake of your daughter Yuanli. Starting today, you're fired. Now, both of you, leave my house immediately. My words angered the mother and daughter, and they both looked furious, ready to step forward and argue with me. Unfortunately, I didn't want to say another word to them. I cleared my throat lightly, and the bodyguards I had hired earlier immediately rushed in from the doorway and escorted the two of them out. After the mother and daughter left, my house instantly became much quieter, and my heart also felt a bit more at peace. Indeed, trash should be cleaned up properly, otherwise seeing it only affects one's mood. Not long after, Yuan Li's project ultimately exploded. Not only did she lose all her capital, but she was also heavily in debt. Meanwhile, the news of me becoming the richest person in city I could no longer be kept hidden. After learning about it, Yuanli finally realized that something was off. She angrily called me and said she wanted to see me. This time, I didn't refuse and even prepared a surprise for her. I invited Yuanli to my favorite restaurant. I had reserved a private room with the restaurant manager in advance and even pre-ordered the dishes. By the time I arrived, Yuanli was already there with her mother, waiting for me. As soon as I appeared, both of them glared at me with looks full of jealousy and resentment, while I calmly walked over and sat down in front of them. The face reflects the heart, and I'm used to their ugly expressions. I know both of them must be full of questions right now, and since I'm a kind-hearted person, I came here specifically to answer their questions this time. I turned on the screen in the private room and started showing Yuanli and her mother photos of several people. As the mother and daughter looked at the unfamiliar faces on the screen, their confusion grew even deeper. While elegantly eating my food, I answered their questions one by one. This man used to survive by collecting bottles from trash bins to sell for money, but now he's the owner of a small waste station and lives a relatively comfortable life. This young girl's parents divorced and neither wanted her, leaving her struggling to even have enough to eat. Recently, she earned a decent amount from part-time work, which is enough to support her through college. This aunt was seriously ill and had no money for treatment, so she went home to wait for death. Unexpectedly, a lottery ticket she bought on a whim won her a prize, not only covering her medical expenses but also saving enough for her retirement. The owner of this small company was on the verge of bankruptcy and even considered ending his life by jumping into a river. However, he suddenly received a large order, bringing his company back to life. I introduced the 10 people on the screen to Yuan Li and her daughter one by one. All of them had recently experienced sudden financial luck, which changed their life circumstances. At this point, there's no need for me to say anything more, they should be able to guess the rest. Yuan Li looked at me with disbelief, unable to contain her anger as she questioned me. Wang Xiao, did you give all those local specialties I gave you to these people? I put down the chicken leg in my hand upon hearing this and nodded seriously at her. Yes, I gave all the local specialties you gave me to those in need, every single one of them. And Zhang immediately collapsed to the ground upon hearing this, trembling with anger. How could this happen? How could this happen? I sneered coldly. What's wrong? Didn't you enjoy exchanging fortunes with others? I fulfilled your wish now, you should be happy. Yuan Li completely lost her mind, screaming hysterically and revealing her ugly side. Zhao Xiao, how dare you? How dare you give away the things I gave you to others? How could you do this? I reached out to cover my ears, the noise making my eardrums ache. I took a moment to calm down, then replied with a calm and indifferent tone, why shouldn't I give those local specialties to others? What a joke. You think you can use those local specialties to steal my family's fortune, but I'm not allowed to use them to design your bankruptcy and debt. To put it simply, I just applied your shady local specialties to the right path. Yuan Li stared at me with resentment-filled eyes, asking in confusion, how did you know those local specialties were off? After all, this was a secret between her and the system, and Yuan Li couldn't understand how I had found out I was reborn, so of course I knew this secret, because in my previous life, my family was destroyed in exactly this way. In this life, I simply seized the opportunity ahead of time, thus avoiding a calamity. However, I certainly won't tell them the truth, so I said to them with an air of profound mystery, if you don't want others to know, don't do it in the first place. I know a lot of things. After saying this, having eaten and drunk my fill, I laughed heartily and strode away, this feeling satisfying. Actually, there's one more thing I haven't told Yuan Li and her mother. After the outcome was decided, that unscrupulous system is now bound to me. Before, I didn't dare to break with Yuan Li because I hadn't figured out a plan yet, afraid she might use these local specialties to harm others again. Ever since Yuan Li went bankrupt, I was inexplicably bound to a system, and only then did I realize that Yuan Li had already lost and no longer had the means to harm others. But I am different. I am already the wealthiest person in City A and don't need the system to help me harm others to make money, so I negotiated with the system, allowing all customers who purchased my family's products to share in some of our family's financial luck. The system was shocked. After all these years in the business, I've never encountered a host who operates like you. I just don't get it. I smiled back. You don't need to understand it all. It's good that it doesn't harm anyone, and besides, my approach can help those in need. Although the system didn't quite agree with my methods, it still carried them out. I specifically instructed the company's staff to have one of the food factories under the company's name produce 2 types of rice and noodles priced significantly lower than the market rate. This way, more and more people living in great hardship will be attracted to buy. Then I can share a bit of my financial luck with them, ensuring they live without worries. Things are going very smoothly on my end, but Yuan Li is having a tough time. She is deeply in debt, unable to repay, and is now like a rat crossing the street. Everyone is after her. She was chased by creditors and had to hide everywhere. After I fired her mother, Aunt Zhang, she couldn't find a job either and had to rely on picking bottles from trash bins to make a living. With no way out, they went to find those few people who had accepted the special local products back then. Yuan Li said in a haughty tone, the local products Wang Xiao gave you were actually mine. You're living so well now because you gained my financial luck. Hurry up and give me the money back. Consider it as if I sold those local products to you. Suddenly appearing and saying such incomprehensible things, naturally no one was willing to pay attention to her. Yuan Li then started making a scene. After it happened many times and she frequently mentioned the name of the richest person, she naturally caught people's attention, so someone recorded a video and posted it online, instantly causing a huge uproar. Oh my, this richest person is truly amazing, helping those in need so quietly and without seeking recognition. Exactly, I've never seen such a kind-hearted wealthy person before. Don't you know, under the richest person's industry, there are several daily necessity products that are sold almost at a loss. The intention is clear. Such a good person deserves to be the richest. I've decided, from today on, I'll only buy products from her company. +1, me too. I'll only buy her products from now on. +1. At that moment, the 10 people I had given local specialties to also came out specifically to speak up for me, saying I was a great person. Before they knew I had become the richest person, they didn't specifically come to me to build connections, but now, because of their situation, I've been dragged into the discussion, and they are sure to step forward and speak up for me. After these 10 people shared the story of how the local specialties I gave them brought them good luck, there was even more support for me online, and all the products under my company's name are selling like crazy across the country this way. Even though I shared some of my financial luck with those in need, I still made money and didn't suffer any financial loss. I originally thought that after slowly dispersing my financial luck, I might not be as wealthy anymore, but now things have exceeded my expectations and are gradually moving in a win-win direction. Could this be what others called good deeds bring good rewards? So I smiled happily. My success made Yuan Li green with envy. She tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice. And she hated me even more. Once, when I was about to go out to meet a friend, Yuan Li had been lying in wait near my home early on. As soon as I appeared, she rushed toward me quickly with a knife, but she was going to be disappointed. How could the richest person not have bodyguards? Before she could even get close to me, she was subdued by the bodyguards responsible for protecting me. Yuan Li, who was being restrained, still shouted defiantly, "Wang Xiao, I'm going to kill you." That money was clearly all mine. The position of the richest person should have been mine too. You stole my life. Yuan Li's words made me laugh in anger. After coveting someone else's belongings for too long, she truly began to believe they would become hers. Dream on. For someone who posed a threat to my life, I didn't hold back and directly sent her to the police station. Attempted murder. She can sit in prison and reflect on her actions to ensure Yuan Li doesn't get out of prison too quickly. I specifically hired an expert to investigate all the illegal activities she had been involved in. Outside, sure enough, there was a lot to uncover. How could someone with ill intentions only do one bad thing? I handed over all of Yuan Li's criminal evidence to the police, enough to keep her behind bars for life. Later, Yuan Li's mother, Aunt Zhang, came to see me several times, hoping I would let her daughter go, but when my parents returned from their global travels and learned everything, they angrily drove her away. Every daughter is a treasure in her own family. Evil people who harm others should be punished. Looking at my parents, alive and standing before me, protecting me, I am even more grateful for my rebirth, which allowed me to change the fate of our family, and because the system shared some of my financial luck with those in need, gradually everyone began to live a life of peace and prosperity. The world is becoming a better place. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister-in-law believed that quicksilver was a type of silver. She broke more than a dozen thermometers in succession and collected the quicksilver inside, planning to sell it when the price of silver skyrocketed. When I saw this, I hurriedly stopped her and told her with a serious face that quicksilver has nothing to do with silver and is extremely toxic. After hearing this, my sister-in-law reluctantly sealed the bottle containing quicksilver and handed it to me for disposal. A few years later, my nephew was severely humiliated by his girlfriend's parents because he had no house, no car, and no savings. After returning home, my sister-in-law said to her dejected nephew, "I just heard that gold prices are soaring now, so I guess silver prices can't be low either. If it weren't for your aunt stopping me from collecting quicksilver back then, you would have been born into a wealthy family long ago." My nephew went mad with rage after hearing that and stabbed me to death with multiple knives when I was off guard. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my sister-in-law was collecting quicksilver. "Lily, why did you break all these thermometers? What a waste. And what are these silver things? What are you doing with them?" My mother's voice came from the living room. My sister-in-law's words also reached my ears. "Mom, you don't get it. This stuff is called quicksilver, which is silver that hasn't solidified yet. It's worth a lot of money. I broke the thermometer just to collect the quicksilver. How is that wasteful? I'm saving up for my son's future wife." After hearing this, my mother turned her skeptical gaze toward me. "Sarah, is what your sister-in-law said true? There can be silver in thermometers." Hearing this familiar question, I finally became certain that I had been reborn, because she had said the same thing in my previous life. When I saw my sister-in-law collect all the quicksilver from more than a dozen thermometers into a glass jar, my mind went buzz in an instant. I hurriedly got up and opened all the doors and windows in the room. My sister-in-law frowned in confusion. "It's quite cold. Why are you opening the windows?" I couldn't help but speak sternly. "Do you know what quicksilver is? It has nothing to do with silver, and it's extremely toxic. If I don't open the windows for ventilation, our whole family would be poisoned by you." Under my repeated angry scolding, although my sister-in Law was somewhat reluctant. She still sealed the glass bottle as I instructed and labeled it as waste quicksilver. Finally, I handed the glass bottle containing quicksilver to the nearby waste disposal department, which prevented a tragedy from happening. 10 years later, my nephew was severely humiliated by his girlfriend's parents because he had no house, no car, and no savings. My sister-in-law spoke to the dejected nephew. I just heard that gold prices are soaring now, so I guess silver prices can't be low either, especially quicksilver, which is more valuable than ordinary silver. It might even be more expensive than gold. If it weren't for your aunt stopping me from collecting quicksilver back then, you'd be a rich second-generation kid now. My mom chimed in, isn't that the truth? And I saw Sarah just got a new model phone last week. Maybe she secretly kept that quicksilver and sold it for money. After hearing this, my nephew flew into a rage and stabbed me to death with multiple knives when I wasn't prepared. To protect my nephew, my brother stuffed my dead body into a suitcase after I died and threw it off a cliff in the middle of the night. I claimed that I was playful and accidentally fell off a cliff. Fine, they want to collect quicksilver, do they? Then I won't interfere this time. I'd like to see whether they sell the quicksilver for money first, or they get poisoned by it first. Tisk, Sarah, I'm talking to you. Are you listening or not? This child becomes less likable as they grow older, not as obedient as when they were little. Hearing my mother's dissatisfied voice, I finally came back to my senses. I pretended to think, the thing in the thermometer is indeed called quicksilver, but I don't know if it has anything to do with silver. My sister-in-law Lily looked at my mother triumphantly. See, even your college student says there's quicksilver in the thermometer. What don't you believe now? My mother looked at me again with delight. Sarah, is it true? Is there really silver in the thermometer? I repeated again. I told you, it's quicksilver, but I don't know if it counts as silver. Although I really wanted to make them pay a heavy price, I didn't dare tell them directly that quicksilver is silver. Otherwise, if one day they discovered that quicksilver and silver have absolutely no relationship, they would start blaming me again. I really don't want to repeat the mistakes of my previous life. Lily rolled her eyes and said, and you call yourself a college student? Quicksilver is obviously silver. Why else would it be called quicksilver? Then, as if remembering something, she turned to me and said, hey Sarah, could you go to the pharmacy and buy some more thermometers? Then, just like me, break the thermometers and collect the quicksilver in a glass bottle. My eyes lit up with excitement as I nodded eagerly and said, really? Quicksilver is silver? Then is our family going to be rich? I'm going to buy them right now. I'm going to buy out all the thermometers in the pharmacy, latest model phone, latest model computer, latest model tablet. Here I come. Just as I was excitedly preparing to go out, Lily suddenly blocked the door, tapped her forehead and said, oh, look at my brain, I remembered it wrong. Sarah, you don't need to buy them. That quicksilver and silver are not the same thing at all. My mom got anxious. How is it not the same thing again? Didn't you say that quicksilver is silver? You just said my grandson's marriage fund was secured. Are you making fun of this old lady? I caught Lily frantically winking at my mom. My mom seemed to have guessed something too, and she shut up and stopped talking. I pretended not to notice Lily's little gestures, nodded somewhat disappointedly, and then pointed to the glass bottle containing quicksilver on the table. I see, since quicksilver isn't silver, I'll help you throw away this bottle of quicksilver when I go out later. Lily and my mom spoke at almost the same time. No, I sneered inwardly. It seems my suspicion was correct. They hadn't realized at all that quicksilver and silver are unrelated. Instead, they didn't want to share the quicksilver with me. However, this was exactly what I wanted. It made my painstaking performance earlier worthwhile. Lily realized her tone was wrong and spoke again. No need, Sarah. I'm heading out soon anyway, so I'll take it out when I go. My mom caught on and chimed in. Yes, your sister-in-law will take it out when she goes. Weren't you just saying you were going out? Hurry up and go. I nodded and said, all right then, I'm heading out. After closing the door, I didn't rush downstairs but instead leaned against the door to listen to what they would say after I left. A few seconds later, I heard Lily's voice speak first. Mom, are you stupid? I was giving you such obvious hints earlier. Didn't you understand what I meant? Look at how money-hungry our daughter was just now. There's only so much quicksilver, and she wants to buy this and that. If she wastes all the money, what will Tom use to buy a house? My mom said with a smirk. Yes, I didn't realize it at first. So you mean this quicksilver is really silver? You're not kidding me. Lily clicked her tongue and said, see, your mind really doesn't work well when you're old. What have I been telling you all this time? Quicksilver is of course silver. If I hadn't tricked Sarah just now. What if she bought out all the thermometers in the pharmacy? Let me tell you, this quicksilver is the highest grade of silver. You see it's in liquid form now, right? When you dry it in the sun and it turns solid, it might be more valuable than gold. I heard this and covered my mouth, struggling to hold back my laughter. Can quicksilver even be evaporated into a solid? Why don't you guess why it's called quicksilver? Besides, the gas released from quicksilver vaporization is highly toxic. If you put it under the sun, not only will it not turn into a solid, but it will actually speed up its evaporation rate. Inhaling excessive quicksilver vapor can cause poisoning, but I had no intention of telling them this, otherwise, they might think I'm blocking their path to wealth and kill me, which would truly be a loss outweighing any gain. Suddenly, Lily seemed to think of something and said in a serious tone, "Mom, we agreed that the money from selling this quicksilver is for Tom. Don't secretly favor your daughter, she doesn't get a share of this money." My Mom said with a smile, "Of course, not to mention this quicksilver. Even if I die, all my inheritance will go to Tom. That worthless girl won't get a single penny." Perfect. Tom's room gets plenty of sunlight. Let's put the quicksilver in his room to sunbathe, then have Tom keep the door closed all day so Sarah doesn't find out. Good grief, what a demon. I'm afraid she doesn't know that quicksilver in a sunlit, enclosed space is most likely to cause poisoning if quicksilver is really placed in the nephew's room with the doors and windows tightly closed. Then within a few days, the nephew will surely suffer from quicksilver poisoning. Lily agreed after hearing this. "I think it's a good idea. Let's talk to Tom about it when he comes back from school, and make sure he doesn't let it slip." Mom, then you should go downstairs and buy some more thermometers, visit several pharmacies and buy a lot. The more quicksilver we collect now, the bigger the house Tom can buy in the future. Only when I heard my mother putting on her shoes did I hurry downstairs. It would be so embarrassing if my mom caught me eavesdropping at the door. After going downstairs, I randomly found a hotel and booked a room for a week. Anyway, I don't plan on going back for a while. After all, who would want to live in a toxic environment? It's still winter, so we can't open the windows at home, which means they had no choice but to inhale the quicksilver vapor. Just after I spent the whole afternoon playing games, I received a call from my mom. As soon as I answered, I heard my mom's somewhat weak voice. "Sarah, when are you coming back? Could you bring me a box of painkillers when you return? I probably didn't sleep well last night, and I've been feeling weak all over with a headache this afternoon." I sneered in my heart. This wasn't because she hadn't slept well. These were clearly symptoms of quicksilver poisoning. It's just that her current symptoms were merely reactions to mild poisoning. If more time passed, it wouldn't be this simple. Besides, how could painkillers possibly relieve quicksilver poisoning? If I really buy her painkillers when the time comes, not only will it have no effect, but her symptoms might worsen. Will she blame me again? Let whoever wants to play the sucker play it, but I certainly don't want to. I hesitated to speak. "Mom, I might not be able to come back. I took a train to travel out of town, thinking I would go and return the same day. As it turns out, my wallet and ID were all stolen. I don't even have a place to stay now. It's so cold under the bridge. Mom, could you transfer me 500 yuan? There was a few seconds of silence on the phone before a voice spoke. "Your signal is terrible. I can't hear a word you're saying." "Forget it. I'm hanging up. I really can't count on you for anything." Listening to the beep beep sound of the phone being hung up, I sneered inwardly. Your own daughter is about to freeze to death, and you can't even spare 500 yuan. What did you expect me to do anyway? This time, I don't want to get involved in any of their business anymore. I just want to watch coldly as they face their belated retribution. For the past few days, I've been holed up in my hotel room binge-watching shows and playing games. My mom, seemingly afraid that I might ask her for money again, not only hasn't called me once but has even blocked me on WeChat. I was quite happy to have some peace and quiet. It wasn't until 5 days later that I received another call from my mom. I calculated the time, and by now the symptoms of quicksilver poisoning should have mostly appeared. As soon as the call connected, I heard my mom's anxious voice. "Sarah, are you back yet? You need to get to the hospital right away. Tom has a high fever and is unconscious. The doctor says it's quicksilver poisoning. Your sister-in-law insists that Tom just has a regular fever and doesn't want him to continue treatment at the hospital. But the doctor said that if he doesn't get hospitalized now, his life could be in danger. Sarah, you have the highest education in our family, so you must know if quicksilver is toxic. Please come back and talk some sense into your sister-in-law. He's my only grandson. I can't let anything happen to him." I answered off topic. "Quicksilver? How could he have quicksilver poisoning? Didn't your sister-in-law already throw away that bottle of quicksilver? Could it be that sister-in-law never threw away that bottle of quicksilver at all? You want to sell the quicksilver Behind my back for money, right? My mom was furious. Sarah, how can you still be thinking about money at a time like this? Your nephew's life is almost gone. I have you on speakerphone right now, so hurry up and tell your sister-in-law whether quicksilver is poisonous or not. I immediately said excitedly, it's poisonous, it's poisonous. Quicksilver is definitely poisonous. You guys hurry up and throw it away. And by the way, tell me where you threw it. After hearing what I said, my mom spoke to Lily in an urgent tone. Are you listening? Sarah also said quicksilver is toxic. Hurry up and let Tom get treatment. Lily clicked her tongue and spoke softly. Mom, are you stupid? Didn't you hear her tone? She clearly wants to trick us into throwing away the quicksilver first, so she can pick it up herself later. If it were really toxic, would she say something like that? Besides, if quicksilver is toxic, then why are we both fine, other than sleeping poorly these past few days with some chest tightness and headaches? I don't have any other symptoms at all. Oh my, this is what you understood yourself anyway. I did tell you that quicksilver is toxic, but you didn't believe it. My phone calls are recorded the entire time, so if something happens, you can't blame me. My mom suddenly realized and spoke. That makes sense. I haven't been sleeping well these past few days either, and besides chest tightness and headaches, I don't have any other symptoms. If quicksilver is toxic, wouldn't we both be having fevers and fainting spells too? This worthless piece of trash is really calculating. Almost had me fooled. I sneered inwardly. Of course you two have mild symptoms, because all the quicksilver vapor was inhaled by my nephew, but I had no intention of explaining, just letting them be harmed by their own ignorance. My mom forgot to hang up the phone while talking to Lily, so I could clearly hear the conversation between the doctor and them. Have you family members made up your minds or not? The patient is in life-threatening danger at any moment. The patient needs to be transferred to the ICU now. If you've decided, hurry up and pay the fees. Every second delayed puts the patient in greater danger. Faced with the doctor's advice, Lily became displeased. What do you mean by that? Are you cursing my son? My son just has a common fever. How does it become life-threatening when you talk about it? Haven't you ever had a fever? How come it didn't burn you to death? My mother also chimed in with curses. Yeah, you heartless hospital, just earning dirty money. What quicksilver poisoning? I think you've been bribed by that worthless thing from my family. That worthless thing only thinks about our family's money all day. Let me make it clear right now. You tell her, don't even think about getting any ideas about the quicksilver. The money from selling that quicksilver is for Tom to buy a house. Even if I die, the money will be left to Tom. The doctor interrupted her. What are you talking about? Who bribed me? This is a legitimate hospital. You can be held legally responsible for spreading rumors. Besides, who told you that quicksilver can be sold for money? Quicksilver is a hazardous chemical that can harm the human body. If you really have quicksilver at home, you can bring it here. Our hospital has a special waste liquid disposal department that can help you dispose of it. My mom became a little scared and said to Lily with a trembling voice, Lily, this doctor says quicksilver is a hazardous chemical and can't be sold for money. Could Tom really have been poisoned because of quicksilver? Lily ignored my mom's words and instead yelled at the doctor, still denying you've been bought off by that worthless brat. You're just trying to scare us into handing over the quicksilver, aren't you? Let me tell you, I'm not that easily fooled. The doctor sighed heavily and said nothing more. Then again, there's really nothing to say when dealing with such a scoundrel. I know that feeling of having your good intentions thrown back in your face all too well. The day after I moved out of home, I ordered a miniature camera and a gas mask online, which arrived just yesterday. I estimated that the hospital they went to was about half an hour away from home. Taking advantage of the gap while they were returning from the hospital to home, I put on the gas mask, fully equipped. I sneaked back home and hid the miniature camera in a location that was both concealed and offered a complete view. After doing all this, I quickly left and returned to the hotel where I was staying. Coincidentally, as soon as I opened the phone monitoring screen, I saw my mother and Lily return with my nephew in their arms. I saw my nephew with his eyes tightly closed, unconscious, his cheeks flushed, and there were red maculopapular rashes on the exposed parts of his body, most likely caused by quicksilver poisoning. The fever and coma are merely the visible surface phenomena, and it goes without saying that the invisible liver and kidneys must have suffered irreversible damage. One could say that even with continued hospital treatment, my nephew's current condition might not be completely curable, not to mention that the two of them completely disregarded medical advice and brought my nephew back from the hospital. Therefore, the only path awaiting my nephew is death. The two of them were quite fortunate, as the quicksilver had been in their nephew's room, so they hadn't Inhaled much of it, therefore. They didn't have any fatal symptoms for the time being, just dizziness and nausea. My brother was the luckiest of all. He had been on a business trip these past few days, so he knew nothing about what had happened at home, and he wasn't affected by the quicksilver poisoning at all. That hospital visit was a complete waste. Tom just had a normal fever. But they made it sound like he had some terrible disease. They even cursed Tom. What bad luck, just as I was thinking. My mom's voice from the monitor brought my thoughts back. Lily said with a smile, "It wasn't a complete waste. Didn't you hear what the doctor said? He told us to bring the quicksilver so he could dispose of it for us. People who work in hospitals definitely know quicksilver is valuable. If it were really the dangerous chemical he claimed it was, they would be avoiding it, not asking us to bring it in. They obviously just want to trick us out of our quicksilver so they can secretly sell it themselves. I think this quicksilver might be more valuable than we imagined. Our Tom will be rich in the future." After hearing this, my mother's brow relaxed. She went to my nephew's room and took out the bottle of quicksilver. She put her hand in and stirred it, then frowned and said, "Are you sure this quicksilver will solidify? Why is it still liquid? And I feel like there seems to be quite a bit less quicksilver now." Lily also leaned in for a closer look. Solidification definitely takes time. Besides, haven't you heard the saying that good things come in small packages? Something as advanced as quicksilver must refine its essence on its own. Only that tiny bit left at the end is valuable. It's hilarious. The quicksilver had been evaporating in the sun for several days. No wonder it was decreasing. My mom suddenly asked suspiciously, "Right, Lily forgot to ask you. Where did you hear that solidified quicksilver can be sold for money?" Lily rolled her eyes. "Your son told me, a few days ago. Your son called me and told me to buy a thermometer, saying the quicksilver inside was more valuable than gold when solidified. That's why I started collecting quicksilver. How else would I have known?" "What? So you don't trust me after all? Are you afraid I'll deceive you? Now that you know it was your son who said it, you can rest easy." My mom instantly beamed with joy. "No wonder. It has to be my son who has the business mind. That Sarah girl wasted so many years on education. She can't even compare to my son in the slightest. It's not that I don't trust you. I should thank you, Lily. If it weren't for your quick thinking at the hospital, that girl and the doctor would have colluded to cheat us out of this quicksilver." Hearing what they said on the surveillance, I frowned deeply. I never would have thought that the ridiculous idea that solidified quicksilver could be sold for money was told to Lily by my brother. If I remember correctly, my brother graduated from a vocational high school with a major in chemistry. Although he didn't attend university, he still studied chemistry in vocational high school, so how could he not know that quicksilver is a highly toxic chemical? This is knowledge that one learns in middle school, and I don't believe my brother doesn't know it at all. Then, what if my brother did it on purpose? Suddenly, a dangerous hypothesis emerged in my mind. Could it be that my brother took advantage of Lily's greed, intentionally telling her that quicksilver could be sold for money, and emphasizing that solidified quicksilver was more valuable, because he knew that quicksilver evaporating in the sun and being inhaled would be even more fatal? So, he wanted to kill Lily, you know. Not just Lily, he also wanted to kill my mom and nephew, and even me, because we've all been living together. The quicksilver evaporating inside the house meant no one could escape, and it just so happened that my brother was away on business during this time, which further proves my theory is correct. But why? Just as I was thinking, Lily's triumphant voice came through the monitor again. "Of course, if Harry had married me back then instead of that jinx who killed her parents, do you think you'd be holding your grandson? Who knows, your whole family might have been killed by her curse by now." My mom snorted coldly and spoke, "Don't even mention that jinx. Just last month I saw her chatting with my son on the street, and I got so angry I threw a bottle of sulfuric acid in her face. I don't know what she's thinking. Killing her own parents is one thing, but she dares to seduce my son. Truly shameless." Lily suddenly opened her eyes wide and said excitedly, "What? She was the one who jumped from the rooftop the other day?" My mom looked at Lily with some confusion. "What do you mean, who jumped from the rooftop?" Hearing this, Lily became even more excited. "Who else could it be? That jinx, of course. The other day I saw a crowd gathered at the bottom of a building looking at the rooftop, so I went over to see what was happening, and I saw a woman standing on the edge of the rooftop. I heard from people nearby that this woman's parents had passed away. She had sulfuric acid thrown on her which disfigured her face, and her husband ran off with someone else. She couldn't take it anymore and was about to jump off the building. After watching for about 5 minutes, my neck was sore from looking up. But the woman still hadn't jumped, so I shouted, "If you're going to jump, hurry up, it's freezing cold and a big crowd of us are waiting to watch you jump. If you don't jump, are you being fair to our time?" After I shouted, The whole crowd started joining in. The atmosphere was spectacular. I even took a video. I'll show you later. My mother looked full of regret after hearing this. "Oh, you should have told me. If I had known there was such excitement to watch, I would have gone out with you that day." I have a loud voice. I definitely would have shouted louder than them. "So did that jinx finally jump?" Lily sneered and said. Of course, the atmosphere was built up to that point. She had to jump whether she wanted to or not. She jumped less than 2 minutes after everyone egged her on. I didn't know she was that jinx back then. If I had known, I would have run up to the rooftop and kicked her down myself. After saying that, Lily even took out her phone to show my mom the video she had recorded, listening to the sounds of people egging on the jump in the video. The two of them laughed heartily, bending forward and backward. At this point, my eyes widened in disbelief. How could they possibly treat this matter as a joke? How were they able to laugh about it? I know my brother had a first love whom he dated for 10 years. When I was about to get married, my mom insisted that the other person was a jinx and strongly objected, threatening to kill herself. My brother had no choice but to marry Lily, with whom he had no emotional foundation at all. So, if the person who died was my brother's first love, then it's not impossible that my brother would want to kill our whole family for revenge. Just then, I heard the sound of a door opening at the entrance. Before long, my brother's figure appeared on my surveillance screen, but my mom and Lily were so engrossed in watching the video that they didn't notice my brother had returned at all. "What are you watching?" My brother suddenly leaned close to Lily's phone screen and spoke in a cold voice. Lily gave me quite a scare. When my mom saw my brother come back, she immediately got up, her face lighting up as she pulled him over. "Did you know, Lily just told me that your first love Fiona died. Thank goodness you listened to me and didn't marry her. A jinx is a jinx. She not only caused her parents' deaths, but now she's even brought about her own demise." After saying that, she went to the table, picked up the small half bottle of Quicksilver, and shook it in front of my brother. Lily is truly smart. If it weren't for Lily, this Quicksilver would have been swindled away by that unscrupulous hospital and your sister's brat working together. Tom just has an ordinary fever, but they insisted it was Quicksilver poisoning. They even claimed that Quicksilver is some kind of hazardous material and demanded we hand it over to them for disposal. Isn't it obvious they're trying to trick us out of our Quicksilver so they can sell it themselves? My brother glanced at my nephew lying unconscious on the sofa, showing no surprise at all, and then my mother spoke. "Where do you usually keep this Quicksilver?" My mom said proudly. "Tom's room gets plenty of sunlight, so of course it should go in his room. I specifically told Tom to keep the door closed whenever he enters or leaves, to prevent that worthless girl from getting any ideas." My brother sneered. "No wonder you two get along so well." Lily seemed not to hear clearly. "What did you say?" My brother took 2 bottles of drinks from his bag and handed one to Lily and one to my mom. "It's nothing, just brought a few drinks for you to try from my business trip." Lily took a sip and immediately spat it out. "What kind of drink is this? Why is it so bitter?" A vicious look flashed across my brother's face. Then he spoke. "Imported drink. It contains many Chinese medicinal herbs, supposedly good for your health." As soon as my mom heard it was good for her health, she immediately closed her eyes and drank the entire beverage in one gulp. Seeing my mom finish, Lily also pinched her nose and followed suit, drinking the beverage completely. Just then, my nephew's body began to convulse visibly, rolling directly from the sofa onto the floor with a loud thud. Seeing this, my mom hurried forward to check on my nephew, but after taking only 2 steps, she crouched down, clutching her stomach and wailing in pain. Lily was about to ask, but before she could speak, she reacted just like my mom, clutching her stomach and falling to her knees. After seeing the two of them collapse, my brother finally had that sinister smile on his face again. My mom shouted at my brother with a face full of agony, "Son, quick, quick, call an ambulance for me. I feel like there's a fire burning in my stomach." Lily was in too much pain to speak, and could only express her agony by continuously pounding the ground with her fists. But my brother acted as if he hadn't heard. Not only did he not call an ambulance, but he also took out a glass bottle from his bag, containing a transparent, oily liquid. He held the bottle with liquid and shook it in front of our mom. "Mom, does this look familiar?" My mom screamed. "Familiar with what? Hurry up and take me to the hospital. Your mother is about to die, and you're waving a broken bottle in front of me. Do you even have a heart?" My brother said with red eyes. "I don't have a heart, and you think you do? If you hadn't thrown sulfuric acid on Fiona, she would never have died. Fiona and I were in love for 10 years. It was bad enough that you tore us apart, but I even endured being forced to marry and have children with a woman I don't love at all. I've clearly been so obedient to you, so why do you still have to hurt Fiona?" My mom was obviously frightened by my brother's appearance, and before she could explain, Lily's weak voice immediately followed. "Yes, it was your mother who caused Fiona's death, Harry. Your mom got what she deserved, so don't worry about her." Just take me to the hospital quickly, it hurts so much. My brother turned to look at Lily again and sneered. Yes, what goes around comes around, then why should I take you to the hospital? You're also partly responsible for Fiona's death. Lily froze for a moment before speaking. What do you mean? Are you saying I killed Fiona? What does this have to do with me? Your mom was the one who threw the sulfuric acid. Fiona went to the rooftop herself. I didn't force her to jump. What does this have to do with me? Is it illegal to watch the excitement these days? My brother stepped forward and kicked Lily hard, speaking angrily. Was that just watching the excitement? You were leading the crowd, egging her on to jump. Listen to what you people were saying down there. Was that even human? You're all the main culprits who killed Fiona. You all deserve to die. After saying that, my brother took out a fruit knife from his bag and approached Lily step by step. Lily scrambled backward in terror, her eyes fixed on the bottle of quicksilver on the table. As if suddenly remembering something, summoning all her strength to stand up, she grabbed the half-full bottle of quicksilver and threatened my brother. Don't come any closer. If you dare come closer, I'll throw this bottle of quicksilver out the window. Didn't you say that solidified quicksilver is more valuable than gold? I've been exposing this quicksilver to the sun for several days, and it's about to solidify. I suggest you think carefully. My brother sneered, threatening me. Do you really think quicksilver can be sold for money? The doctor wasn't wrong. Quicksilver is a highly toxic chemical. I had originally planned to use this quicksilver to poison all of you, but unexpectedly, only Tom got poisoned. Fortunately, I had a backup plan. The drinks I gave you earlier were actually laced with paraquat. Die in peace. This is what you owe Fiona. Lily looked incredulous, her hands trembling uncontrollably, and the quicksilver bottle she had treasured fell to the ground. My brother ignored Lily's reaction, turned around, opened the bottle of sulfuric acid on the table, and poured it all over my mother's face and body. My mother's screams went from heart-wrenching at the beginning, to hoarse whimpers, and finally, there was no movement at all. The strong smell of sulfuric acid filled the air, and the places on my mom's face and body corroded by the acid were emitting white smoke. With her flesh curled up, revealing the white bones beneath, I fought back the nausea, not daring to look any longer, and shifted my gaze to my nephew. My nephew, who had rolled off the sofa, was no longer twitching. His limbs were limp, with white foam still remaining at the corner of his mouth, his eyes wide open in death. I knew it was time to call the police. Actually, I could just ignore it and let my brother go crazy. After all, the dead were all my enemies, but my brother has completely lost his mind, and I'm really afraid that after he kills the whole family, he'll come after me to silence me, so reporting him to the police and having him arrested is the best way to eliminate future trouble. After all, he killed 2 people, and my nephew was also indirectly killed by him, so the death penalty would be a certainty. With trembling hands, I dialed 911. Hello, officer, I need to report a murder. Someone has been killed here, the operator calmly asked. What's the address? What happened? I tried my best to calm down and briefly recounted the address and what had happened. A dozen minutes later, a series of urgent police sirens approached from afar. The police broke down the door and rushed in. My brother was holding a knife, frantically stabbing Lily, who already showed no signs of life. Lily's body was covered with countless knife wounds, with blood staining the sofa and floor red. When he saw the police coming, he subconsciously wanted to run. Don't move, police, the police shouted sternly. My brother was immediately handcuffed and taken away. He kept cursing Stop, his eyes fierce like a trapped beast. Only a few forensic examiners remained in the surveillance footage, examining the bodies. The scene was too bloody. I really couldn't bear to look any further. A forensic examiner walked over to my mother's body, shook his head, and sighed with a sigh. Extensive sulfuric acid burns all over the body, died on the spot. Another forensic examiner finished examining Lily's body and said, multiple stab wounds, died from excessive blood loss. As for the nephew, he had also lost his breath due to paraquat poisoning. Looking at the 3 corpses before me, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Although they had all hurt me before, seeing their tragic deaths still filled me with a deep sense of sorrow. What, in the end, was the source of this tragedy? I think, perhaps it was love, or perhaps it was hate, or maybe, it was just a momentary lapse in judgment. A week later, I received a call from the court. Hello, is this Sarah? A formulaic voice came from the other end of the phone. Speaking, I answered. The intentional homicide case involving your brother has now been decided. The main perpetrator has been sentenced to death, to be executed immediately. The hand holding the phone trembled slightly. Death penalty, an expected result. I hung up the phone and took a deep breath. Actually, in my plan, they should have all died from quicksilver poisoning. My original plan was to give the collected quicksilver back to my sister-in-law, letting her continue her get-rich-quick dream. Then, after all three of them showed symptoms of poisoning, I would call the police and expose their foolish behavior. This way, they would be punished, and I could get away unscathed. But I never expected that the quicksilver was actually a trap set by my brother. He had long known that quicksilver was toxic. He collected it only for revenge. His real targets were Lily and my mother. Back then, his first love, unable to bear the pressure from the rumors and slander spread by Lily and my mother, chose to commit suicide. My brother had been biding his time, waiting for the right moment to take revenge. Later, I went to see my brother, and he said that he never actually intended to kill me from the very beginning. He just wanted to make those who deserved to pay the price. My brother's words left me with mixed feelings. I think perhaps in the previous life, those people also died at my brother's hands. I walked to the window and opened it. The cold wind blew on my face, making me feel a bit awake, so real, not a dream. I looked out at the bustling street, filled with mixed emotions. Although the process wasn't quite what I had expected, the result was the same. Those who had hurt me in my previous life didn't escape a single one. I gently closed my eyes, feeling the tranquility of this moment. This nightmare has finally ended. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My best friend sent me a text with a picture before she tried to take her own life. The river is so cold. Goodbye forever. I rushed to the location shown in the photo and jumped into the river to save her, but just as we were about to grab the lifeboat thrown by a passerby, she pushed me away. Sophia, I'm pregnant, and the child is your husband's. I don't want my child to be an illegitimate child hidden from the world. She managed to grab the lifebuoy and was saved, while I, exhausted, sank to the bottom of the water after being pulled ashore. The last shred of my consciousness heard her crying as she gave an interview. She risked her life to push me toward the shore, wanting me to live on. I can't let her down. For the rest of my life, I will live well and take care of her daughter and husband on her behalf. At that moment, my 3-year-old daughter lay on my lifeless body, crying her heart out. Mommy, I only want mommy. I just want mommy, for the sake of a toxic friend. I actually made my daughter lose her mother after my best friend gives birth to the child. It's hard to imagine she won't mistreat my daughter and become a wicked stepmother. I died with my eyes wide open, unable to rest in peace. Heaven took pity on me, and when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the moment I received the news of my best friend's suicide attempt. Looking at the familiar photo on my phone and the message, "The river is so cold, goodbye forever," I realized I had been reborn. At that moment, my daughter was snuggled in my arms, urging me in her sweet, childish voice to continue reading the picture book to her. Mom, what happened to the prince and the princess in the end? I ignored that message about ending it all, tossed my phone aside, tucked the blanket around my daughter, and said gently, "The prince and princess got married and had an angelic baby as adorable as you." As for the matter of the prince cheating on the princess after marriage, how could I bear to tell my 3-year-old daughter about it? My daughter kissed me contentedly. "Good night, Mommy, good night, Nicole." I gently closed my daughter's bedroom door, vowing in my heart that no matter what happens in this life, I will stay away from danger and protect my daughter as she grows up. So this time, I won't jump into the river to save Jenna again. I'm curious to see how her act will play out next. In my previous life, I replied to her message instantly, telling her not to be impulsive and to wait for me to come find her. She timed it so that she jumped into the river just as I arrived at the scene. No, I ignored her message, and her call came through. "Sophia, did you see the message I sent you?" I walked to the balcony and lowered my voice. "No, I'm putting Nicole to sleep. What's wrong with you?" She hesitated on the other end of the line. "Nothing, I just wanted to call and say goodbye." I pretended not to hear her clearly and said, "The signal is bad. I can't hear you clearly. Since Nicole is at home, I can't leave. If you need something, call Kevin." In my previous life, I rushed to the river with my 3-year-old daughter to save her, but it ended with my daughter witnessing the entire process of me drowning in the water. This time, let her call my husband. After all, she probably doesn't know that my husband is currently in a hotel rolling in the sheets with another woman. If it weren't for rushing to save her in my previous life, I had originally planned to take my daughter to my mom's place and then catch them cheating at the hotel. Hearing me tell her to call Kevin, Jenna was stunned on the other end of the line. After all, I never let her go to Kevin, and she would avoid any suspicion with Kevin in front of me. That's how it's always been between us. I didn't give her a chance to say anything more and hung up the phone, using the excuse of a bad signal. I knew Kevin was cheating, but I didn't know he was also cheating with my best friend, and they even had a child together after being a stay-at-home wife for 3 years. Aside from my daughter, Kevin and Jenna were the two closest people to me, but today, I received photos from an unknown number showing Kevin checking into a hotel with his female assistant, along with a message from Jenna saying she was so devastated about not being able to finish her PhD that she decided to end her life. At the same time, I learned about their betrayal, perhaps because I've already felt like I died once. At this moment, I am surprisingly calm. I'm starting to think rationally about how to minimize the harm to my daughter and protect our best interests. I dialed that unfamiliar number. The other party didn't answer and sent me a message after hanging up. Don't ask. I'm just a well-intentioned person with moral integrity. If you come to room 5006 at LD Hotel now, you might still make it. They're still inside. I can't leave my daughter home alone, but I do want to confirm whether my husband is having an affair. Moreover, I want to gather evidence of his infidelity, as it will help me in securing custody of our daughter. Fortunately, I know the female assistant and her husband, and we have each other's contact information. The unfamiliar number earlier didn't belong to the assistant's husband, so I suspect it might be someone from Kevin's company who has a grudge against him. Kevin is an executive at a publicly listed company. He handles most of the tasks that the company's owner can't address directly, making him a key right-hand man to the boss, but the factional struggles within such a publicly listed company are very intense. The other side is now exposing Kevin's affair to me, likely because they are planning to take action against him within the company, using me, a stay-at-home wife, to assist them. At this moment, I must not panic, otherwise it will affect the implementation of my next plan. I called the female assistant's husband and told him that she was drunk and causing a scene, urging him to quickly come to room 5006 at LD Hotel to pick her up. Then, I called my brother and asked him to find a spot near the hotel room door to keep watch. No matter what he sees, he shouldn't reveal himself. Just film the scene and send it to me. While waiting for my brother to send the video, Jenna called twice more to say goodbye. She said her advisor was blocking her thesis, preventing her from graduating with her PhD, and she was in so much pain that she had decided to end her life. She hoped I would come see her one last time. She said if I arrived too late, I would only be able to collect her body. I didn't pretend to have a poor signal again. After all, she kept calling persistently, so I had to let her taste a bit of the consequences first. I told her to wait for me there and said I'd be at the river in 5 minutes. Then I took out my phone and started scrolling through local news on a certain app. Sure enough, within 5 minutes, I came across a story about a woman near our community who was suspected of attempting suicide by jumping into the river. After floundering for a while, she regretted her decision, swam back to the shore on her own, grabbed a lifebuoy thrown by a passerby, and was rescued. I knew it. She would time her jump into the river to coincide with my arrival. In the video, after she jumped in, she flailed around and choked on several mouthfuls of water. Someone on the shore wanted to go in and save her but was advised to wait until she had exhausted herself from struggling, as it would be easy to get dragged down and drowned together with her. But before long, she couldn't keep up the act any longer. She swam back to the shore doing the backstroke on her own, then clung to the lifebuoy and was pulled ashore by others. After coming ashore, she vomited so much that it seemed she had swallowed a lot of water to make the act look realistic. She has a relentless drive, never giving up until she achieves her goals, this time, to get rid of me and marry Kevin. She was quite ruthless even to herself. The video ended with her lifting her head to gaze into the distance. Despite being weak from vomiting, her eyes emitted a venomous glare. She was looking in the direction where I would appear. The taste of choking on water isn't pleasant, is it? A message notification from the chat app popped up on my phone screen. My brother had sent the video over, and I quickly tapped to open it. In the video, as soon as Kevin and his female assistant stepped out of the hotel room, they were both beaten by the assistant's furious husband, scrambling away with their heads in their hands. The female assistant's husband is a taekwondo coach. Kevin had it worse, taking several hits to the face. Still not satisfied, the female assistant's husband placed the takeout bag he was holding over Kevin's head and punched him hard through the bag before turning around and dragging the female assistant away by her hair. Then the footage shook violently as a foot kicked Kevin in the groin. In the video, Kevin let out a scream like a slaughtered pig. I recognized the shoe on that foot. I bought it for my brother. After turning off the video, my brother called me indignantly and spent 10 minutes yelling at Kevin. I couldn't get a word in until he said he was coming to pick up Nicole and me. That's when I finally had a chance to speak. No need. I have a plan. Just wait and watch the show. After hanging up, I heard the sound of the code lock being opened at the door. I gathered my composure and greeted the man who had just opened the door with my usual smile. "Honey, you're back," Kevin grunted in response, turning his face away to avoid my gaze, trying to slip past me and head straight into the bedroom. I wasn't about to miss the drama on his face, so I used both hands to turn his head toward me and asked with feigned concern, "Honey, what happened to your face?" His face was bruised and swollen, with dried blood still at the corner of his mouth. He had been beaten to a pulp. Taekwondo black belts don't lie, Kevin cursed and said. "It's nothing. Yesterday, I helped the boss fire a director, and today, when I came back from the meeting, he and his people were waiting for me in the parking lot and beat me up. I went to the fridge to get an ice pack to help him with the cold compress, taking care of him as usual. Honey, your company's boss is really something, always making you the bad guy and not even giving you a bodyguard. This job is just too tough," Kevin sighed. "Who says it's not true? Just think about all the shady things I've done for the boss. If luck isn't on my side, it could all blow up. I've been thinking about sending you and Nicole abroad. Once Nicole and I are abroad, he can keep the home fires burning while having fun with his mistresses, flaunting his affairs without a care. I'll set him free, but not without making him pay for it." I went along with what he said. Going abroad is also an option, but once we're there, Nicole's schooling and other expenses will definitely be quite high. Kevin thought for a moment and said, "In that case, while the company's stock price is at a high point, I'll sell all the shares I have to cash out. You can plan carefully, use some of it to buy stable financial products, and set aside a portion for me to start a business. I might not be able to stay in this job much longer." I was waiting for him to say that before becoming a full-time housewife. I worked at a securities company. After quitting my job, Kevin handed over all his bank cards to reassure me and let me stay at home with peace of mind. I also used my professional skills to manage the family assets, ensuring a stable annual growth of 8% in returns. Kevin trusts me a lot in this regard. The reason I can still be so patient with him now is that I'm waiting for him to cash out his equity. Once this money hits the account, I'm going to make him cry so hard he won't know which way is up. The money Kevin made from selling the stocks arrived quickly. I also sold all my financial products and divided all the money into two parts. One part was used to purchase several high-value insurance policies for Nicole, and the other part was used to buy 10 properties in the best locations of major cities across the country. All of these properties were registered under Nicole's name as gifts to buy these 10 properties for Nicole. I took her on a 3-month trip across the country. During this time, I ignored all calls and messages from Jenna. 3 months had passed, and Jenna's baby bump was no longer concealable. If she waited any longer, it would be too late for an abortion. The more time dragged on, the more passive she became. This was the moment she was most anxious. She could no longer care about appearances. The moment I returned with Nicole, she came to me and said, "Sophia, you must already know, the child I'm carrying is Kevin's." While I was traveling with Nicole, she not only posted many moments with Kevin on social media but also sent me messages detailing everything, laying all her cards on the table. I really wanted to die that day, but then I thought the child is innocent. I couldn't be so selfish as to take my child with me to death. You might think I'm shameless, wondering why I would betray you and sleep with Kevin behind your back, even though you've been so good to me, even insisting on buying me a bag whenever you got one for yourself. Sophia, Kevin doesn't love you anymore. He said that ever since you became a full-time housewife, you've become vulgar, boring, and dull, unable to connect with him on a spiritual level. So, even if it wasn't me with Kevin, it would be someone else. Since you're going to step aside anyway, why not let me take your place, even though I've already died once? Hearing her words still made my blood rush to my head. I splashed the coffee in front of me all over her face, knowing you're shameless. Why do you still make excuses for your shamelessness? Your child is innocent, but when you were cheating on me with Kevin, did you ever think about the fact that I have a daughter? Is my daughter not innocent? She wiped the coffee off her face and actually smiled. To be with a high-quality man like Kevin, taking a cup of coffee from you is worth it. High-quality man, money is indeed the greatest source of a man's charm. If this man loses his money and his job, I wonder if she would still consider Kevin a high-quality man. I'm waiting. I am preparing to proceed with the divorce from Kevin, but given the current situation, I need to find a way to make Kevin initiate the divorce first, so that I can take the initiative in the process. After all, I can threaten him by withdrawing the divorce petition. Kevin can afford to wait, but Jenna's pregnancy cannot. I have decided to target my mother-in-law as the entry point, since Kevin is a devoted son. No matter how difficult she has been to me in the past, he has always had only one response: she is my mother, an elder, so just bear with it for a while. Now, I'm going to use the tactics of crying, making a scene, and threatening suicide to force him to divorce me. I brought gifts to my mother-in-law's house, and before I even entered, I heard her bragging to her friends. To be honest, my son earns so much money, and now I just want a grandson. All this money can't just be given to the little girl as a dowry in the future, letting others benefit from it. Sophia is as stubborn as a mule. She had one daughter and refuses to have any more children. Tell me, what use is a woman if she doesn't give birth to a son? I told my son's mistresses that as long as they can give birth to a son for the Olchin family, I'll make sure they can marry into our family. A female PhD student is already 4 months pregnant, and it's been confirmed by someone that it's a boy. The female PhD student has good genes, so the son is bound to be smart. I'm finally going to have a grandson. This is being kept from Sophia. My son is currently trying to arrange for her and my granddaughter to go abroad. Honestly, in my opinion, why bother going through the trouble of sending them abroad? Just get a divorce. My son is too soft-hearted. He says Sophia has been with him for years and even gave up her job, so he can't bring himself to divorce her. If my son were to kick Sophia out and remarry this female PhD, and then have a big, healthy grandson, I'd be so proud. Jenna probably never imagined that, despite earning a PhD, what they really valued was her womb. I pushed the door open, pretending to look as if the sky had fallen, and the gifts I was holding scattered all over the floor. I stood there, unsteady on my feet. Mom, what did you say? Marry a female PhD? No wonder Kevin urged me to take Nicole abroad. It turns out he's having an affair. Mom, what should I do? I absolutely refuse to go abroad. You need to do something about Kevin. Turning around, I saw a kitchen knife on the table. I picked it up and slammed it down onto the dining table, shouting hysterically, otherwise, in this family, it's either he dies or I live. My mother-in-law was so frightened by my appearance that she dropped her phone on the floor. Sophia, let's talk this out properly. Please put the knife down. Seeing my mother-in-law, who had been domineering over me for 4 years, now terrified and pale with fear, I finally understood. It's useless to just endure their unreasonable behavior with restraint. It's also useless to reason with such people. You have to be even more aggressive and more unreasonable than they are. My mother-in-law was backed into a corner by me with a knife, trembling and stammering as she promised me, Sophia, please calm down. Think of Nicole. I will definitely teach Kevin a lesson and make him turn over a new leaf, so he can live a good life with you. I then put down the knife and left her house. As soon as I stepped out of her door, I heard my mother-in-law calling Kevin on the phone, throwing a tantrum. You must divorce Sophia. She already knows about your affair. She just went crazy here and almost killed me. After that day, my mother-in-law didn't dare to come to our house anymore. But Kevin, who had been using overtime as an excuse to stay away for days, finally came back. He still carried the lingering scent of Jenna's perfume, and as he looked at me, he pressed his temples with a slight headache. Sophia, can't you just turn a blind eye like other women do? I provide you and Nicole with a comfortable life, sending you abroad to live. Isn't that good enough? Why do you have to make a scene? Is this really dignified? Now it's come to this. You had to push us to the point of divorce, and now you're happy. So, in his mind, this marriage fell apart because of me, and he bears no fault at all. Expecting a man like this to reflect on his own issues is nothing but a pipe dream. Fortunately, my goal isn't to make him admit his mistakes. My goal is to make him face the consequences. I pretended to reluctantly sign the divorce agreement with him, and even the custody of Nicole didn't require a fight. It was directly granted to me. During the 1-month cooling-off period for divorce, he never came back, saying he was giving me and Nicole this time to find a place to move out. I moved with Nicole to a 3-bedroom apartment under Nicole's name, enrolled her in a nearby kindergarten, and hired a nanny to pick her up and drop her off. A month later, I successfully obtained the divorce certificate. Subsequently, I passed the interview at Kevin's company and became the assistant to Jack, the director who is his arch-rival in the company, because I discovered that the unknown number that sent me the photos of Kevin and his female assistant in a hotel room that day was actually Jack's. When Kevin saw me in the company, his brows furrowed into a deep frown. Sophia, I gave you a chance, but you were ungrateful and insisted on making a scene. Now you regret it and want to cling to me. It's too late. I politely stepped back to Jack's side and explained, Mr. Kevin, I just joined the company and am Mr. Jack's assistant. A flicker of annoyance crossed his face as he looked at Jack and said, do you have some kind of trash collecting fetish, always picking up the leftovers I've discarded? Before Jack could speak, I stepped forward, grabbed Kevin's shoulders with both hands, and drove my left knee hard into his groin. If your brain is as worthless as your Lower body, you might as well lose both. Kevin's face contorted in pain, but I showed no mercy and punched him square in his twisted face. Colleagues rushed over to see what was happening. I clapped my hands and laughed. Sorry everyone, just dealing with a divorce dispute, nothing interesting to see here, please move along. A female colleague leaned in close to me and whispered, everyone really dislikes him and his assistant Lucy. Seeing him get beaten up made everyone secretly thrilled. Lucy and her husband also got divorced. Everyone in the company is speculating about when he and Lucy will get married. Lucy actually got persuaded by Kevin to get a divorce. Well, Lucy probably doesn't know that Kevin and Jenna's wedding is scheduled for next Saturday. Kevin and Jenna's wedding was very low-key. No one from the company was invited, including his beautiful assistant, Lucy. I forwarded the wedding invitation for Kevin from my ex-mother-in-law's social media to Lucy, as well as most of the colleagues in the company. This task was no easy feat. I had to add friends one by one from the company directory and contact them, which kept me busy for the better part of the day. For this, I even paid out of my own pocket to rent 2 buses to pick up all the colleagues who were going to attend the wedding from the company headquarters and bring them to the venue. The hurried preparations and chaos at the wedding venue were evident. Kevin and Jenna, who was 5 months pregnant, stood at the hotel entrance to greet relatives and friends. My mother-in-law, beaming with joy, held the hands of relatives and friends and introduced Jenna, saying she was a first-time bride, pregnant with a son, and also a PhD student. She stood there, basking in the praises and admiration from relatives and friends for her son's ability to marry a first-time bride. Suddenly, her eyes caught sight of me and Kevin's colleague stepping off the bus, and her expression instantly changed. I walked up to her and said with a smile, "I'm Jenna's best friend." How could I miss her wedding? My mother-in-law gritted her teeth. Sophia, don't even think about ruining my son's wedding. Kevin and Jenna saw me too, and their expressions immediately turned alert. Actually, they don't need to treat me like such a threat. After all, I really won't cause any trouble today. I just can't stand to see them happy, so I came to watch the drama unfold in person. Kevin soon realized that the biggest threat to his wedding wasn't me, because he saw Lucy getting off another bus, blending in with a group of colleagues, wearing a devilish smile as she walked toward him and Jenna. Meanwhile, Jenna, unaware of the situation, looked at me, the woman who had lost in the marriage, with the air of a victor, while remaining wary of my retaliation. Just as Jenna's attention was entirely on me, Lucy had already made her way through the crowd and approached her with precision, giving her pregnant belly a forceful push. Kevin and my ex-mother-in-law's expressions changed instantly as they rushed forward to catch Jenna, but it was too late. Jenna had already been knocked to the ground like a turtle flipped on its back, flailing her arms and legs helplessly, unable to get up for a long while. Jenna was completely stunned. She stared blankly at Lucy, who had come out of nowhere and pushed her, instinctively covering her belly. Kevin and the former mother-in-law were terrified when they saw Jenna being pushed to the ground. They immediately forgot about Lucy and hurried to help Jenna up. The former mother-in-law chanted, "Amiba Buddha, no bleeding, the baby should be fine, thank heavens." She supported Jenna and turned to scold Lucy sharply. "You, the mistress, are so incompetent that you can't even conceive a son, and you still have the nerve to crash the wedding. Get out of here." Lucy ignored her, took off her high heels, and used the sharp heel to strike Jenna's face. "I've already gotten a divorce, and you think you can just swoop in and take him? Dream on." Only then did Jenna realize that this was another mistress of Kevin's. Her face instantly turned ashen, and she began to fight back against Lucy in a passive struggle. No fewer than 100 people had gathered at the company headquarters, all standing by with their hands tucked in their sleeves, watching the commotion just like me. Kevin shouted at the top of his lungs, "What are you all standing around for? Help break up the fight." As soon as he finished speaking, Jenna let out a cry as Lucy landed a solid kick to her stomach, and the hem of her wedding dress quickly turned red with blood. Seeing that the fetus was clearly not going to make it, the ex-mother-in-law fainted from shock on the spot. Kevin, frantic with rage, ignored the bloody scratches Lucy had clawed into his face and shoved her aside with all his might. Lucy's head hit the corner of the red envelope table, and blood splattered out. The scene descended into chaos. The relatives and friends who had been enjoying the spectacle began calling for an ambulance, helping to carry people, and pinching the ex-mother-in-law's philtrum to revive her. Colleagues from the company also stepped in symbolically to help. Some, who had been bullied too harshly by Kevin in the past, even took advantage of the confusion to subtly stick out a leg as Kevin was carrying Jenna toward the car, tripping them both into a faceplant. Jack stood by my side, still not satisfied with what he had seen, and sighed. I knew I hadn't misjudged you. Once you make a move, it's bound to be a game changer. With Kevin causing such a scandal in front of hundreds of colleagues, the company will soon issue a disciplinary notice. I took off my employee badge and handed it to Jack. Goodbye, President Jack. He was both amused and exasperated. Sophia, you're just using me and then throwing me away. I laughed. Otherwise, what? Keep it for the new year. Why you hired me and why I joined the company, we both know the reasons. Now that our goals have been achieved, it's only natural to end this partnership. Now, I just want to start a new life with Nicole. I just didn't expect that Nicole would suddenly disappear. The nanny responsible for picking up Nicole called and said she couldn't find Nicole at the kindergarten gate. The kindergarten teacher said Nicole had been picked up by her grandfather. I took out my phone and called her grandfather and Kevin, dialing over a dozen times in a row, but no one answered. I went to Kevin's house and her grandfather's house to knock on the door, but there was no response. After forcing myself to calm down, I believed Kevin must be at the hospital. Jenna was carrying the son their whole family valued greatly, and they wouldn't ignore it. I quickly drove to the best maternity and children's hospital in the city and, sure enough, saw Kevin's entire family waiting outside the ward. Nicole was being forcefully held by her ex-mother-in-law, and she burst into tears the moment she saw me. Mom, Grandma is pinching me so hard. The ex-mother-in-law suddenly slapped Nicole and scolded, if my grandson isn't safe, I'll make you pay with your life. The mother's debt is repaid by the daughter. Don't think I don't know that today's disaster was orchestrated by your mother. I, who had been forcing myself to stay calm since kindergarten, completely lost it. You can hit me, but hitting Nicole is absolutely not allowed. I turned around, went to the nurse's station, grabbed a disposable syringe, tore open the packaging, and jabbed my ex-mother-in-law repeatedly. Nicole is your granddaughter. How could you lay a hand on her? I'll fight you to the end. Kevin is afraid of needles and didn't dare come near, while my ex-father-in-law tried to snatch the syringe from my hand, but I ended up scratching a few long marks on his face. I don't know how many holes I poked in my ex-mother-in-law's body, and her face was covered with needle marks, oozing dense beads of blood. If it weren't for the fact that she is also a woman, I would have slashed her face to shreds just like I did to my ex-father-in-law. Just as my ex-mother-in-law was screaming in agony, the medical staff wheeled Jenna out after her checkup. Thanks to the timely medical attention, the baby in Jenna's womb was saved. My ex-mother-in-law shoved Nicole forcefully into my arms. If it weren't for the fact that my grandson is safe and I need to accumulate good karma for him, I would have skinned you and your child alive today. Get lost. And don't ever show your face around Urchin family again. I quickly pulled Nicole into my arms, wiped her tears, and comforted her gently. Don't be afraid, Nicole, we're going home. Nicole reached out her little hand and touched my face, whispering softly, Mommy, don't cry. Nicole isn't afraid. At that moment, my brother also arrived at the hospital. He wanted to beat Kevin up, but I stopped him. My brother has a heavy hand, and it's not worth going to jail over such a scumbag. We were about to leave when Jenna suddenly called out to me, Sophia, can I have a word with you? I asked my brother to take Nicole back first. It was just Jenna and me in the VIP ward. Jenna was silent for a long moment before she said, Sophia, can you forgive me, considering how miserable I am right now? I know it was wrong of me to betray you and get involved with Kevin, but you never told me that Kevin had a mistress on the side. Did you? Let's call it even, and we'll still be good friends from now on. Okay, actually, I've been thinking a lot about all the little moments we shared in the past. I really don't want to lose you. Things have already reached this point, and I don't know why she's saying these things. We had so many wonderful memories together, supporting and encouraging each other during our lowest moments, and even buying a book for each other when we were out, never forgetting the other. But she was also the one who had the heart to try to kill me once, so I couldn't help but wonder about the hidden intentions behind her words. I said calmly, we can't go back to how things were between us. Still, I reminded her, now you've seen Kevin's true colors, it's time to pull out in time. She suddenly burst into tears. Sophia, it's not that I don't want to pull out, but the baby is already at a late stage of pregnancy, and I just can't bring myself to have an abortion. I haven't finished my PhD yet, and my paper publication is facing obstacles. If I don't marry Kevin, I can't afford to raise the child, nor do I have the energy to take care of him. Marry Kevin, at least he's rich, so the child's future will be secure. Sophia, tell me, besides Lucy, who else is Kevin's mistress? Who else? To be honest, I don't know, and I don't want to know anymore. I no longer want to waste my energy on them. I also know that she won't turn back. The reason she showed weakness in front of me today was simply to extract more information from me. In the end, I didn't tell her that Kevin was about to become penniless. As the days passed, Nicole's and my life gradually returned to normal. The properties under Nicole's name were all rented out one after another, and I also leased a piece of land in the suburbs, transforming it into a family-friendly farm for urban families to visit and experience during holidays. That day, I welcomed an old acquaintance, Jack. He came to my family farm with his wife and daughter to experience life. His wife took their daughter to identify plants in the field and choose seedlings to transplant. Jack wanted to join in but was afraid of the sun, so his wife pushed him into the shade. You just focus on paying the bill when we're out. The fun, food, and drinks are for me and our daughter. Jack watched them busily working, his face full of happiness. So, you see, there are indeed happy families, but not everyone is fortunate enough to live in a happy and complete one. Jack and I chatted about gossip. Did you know, Lucy was in a car accident and is still in the intensive care unit? I nodded. I saw it while scrolling through short videos. Jack, actually, Kevin's other two mistresses have also run into trouble recently. Your friend is quite skilled. The police still haven't found any key leads. If Jenna intended to kill someone, her methods were indeed very clever, something I only realized when she killed me. I used to think she was just a very persistent person, and I even admired that persistence. It was only later that I understood how terrifying a persistent person can be when they stop at nothing. Jack added, "Be careful." Before he could finish, my phone rang. It was a call from Kevin. "Sophia, are you crazy? Why is there not a single penny left in the bank cards from the safe? When we signed the divorce agreement, Kevin took all the bank cards from me and locked them in the safe. He even checked each of my investment accounts one by one, and there was no money left in them. He just didn't know that all the money in the bank cards he took back had already been used by me to buy insurance and a house, registered under Nicole's name. The money left in the bank card he still had, I suspect, was almost entirely spent on a wedding and a VIP hospital room for Jenna, which is why he had to use the bank cards from the safe." Kevin roared over the phone, "Where the hell did you spend all that money? Jenna is about to give birth, and I can't even afford the hospital deposit. Damn it, you need to give me the money back now." I chuckled softly. "I'm not an ATM, I can't spit out money." Then, ignoring his ranting on the phone, I hung up directly. After hanging up the phone, I asked Jack, "Did the company fire Kevin? He's so broke now that he can't even afford the hospital deposit for Jenna's childbirth." Jack laughed and said, "The company fired him a long time ago, and because his reputation in the industry is ruined, he can't find a new job at all. That's why I told you to be careful, because I know you well enough to say you definitely wouldn't leave him much money, so that's how it is." Actually, they weren't completely destitute. After all, my ex-mother-in-law wanted a grandson so badly that she would have sold the house to raise the child. 2 days later, my ex-mother-in-law posted on her social media about the joy of having a golden grandson, with many congratulatory messages below. A month later, I received a court summons. Kevin sued me for purchasing a property for Nicole without his consent using our marital assets, requesting the court to invalidate the gift and demanding that I return the full amount of the purchase price. I hired the most renowned lawyer in the field of divorce to handle this lawsuit and submitted all the evidence of Kevin's infidelity to the lawyer. When Jenna found out about this, she came to the parent-child farm to see me by taxi. Even before finishing her postpartum confinement, she cried in front of me, admitting that she was wrong and that she had lost, hoping that I could, from a mother's perspective, return at least half of the money to Kevin so that her son wouldn't be born into poverty. "Sophia, I was poor enough and scared of poverty when I was young. I really can't let my child live a life of poverty. Can you stop being so ruthless and leave a way out for me and the child? Please, a way out." Has she forgotten that, in the beginning, it was she who left me no way out? I looked at her coldly. "Stop pretending. I'm not the Sophia I used to be, the one who would soften and agree to anything the moment you cried." She wiped away her tears and glared at me resentfully. "Sophia, you'll regret this." Without even lifting my eyelids, I'm waiting. After Jenna left, my ex-mother-in-law came to me right away, crying her heart out. Why should Nicole, a mere girl, get so much of the Chin family's property? Even if we have to sell everything we own, we will fight this lawsuit to the end and make you spit out every penny. I pretended to pour water and drenched her, who was wailing at the door, turning her into a soaked mess. Only then did she slink away in embarrassment. She wasn't lying. Kevin really sold the house and hired a very well-known lawyer in the field of divorce to handle this lawsuit. They are all gambling, and this time they've bet their way out. The lawsuit wasn't difficult to fight. The first instance judge ruled against them. The lawyer said that gifts from parents to their children are actually very difficult to revoke. The challenge in this case is that the amount is too large, which is why it has sparked controversy and given the other side a glimmer of hope that they could win. However, because I posted Kevin and Jenna's actions online, and after it went viral, public opinion almost overwhelmingly supported Nicole and me, so, in terms of public sentiment, I already have the upper hand. Kevin and Jenna naturally refused to accept the verdict and quickly appealed. However, before the second trial could begin, Jenna was taken away by the police on suspicion of intentional homicide. Coincidentally, her breastfeeding period had just ended, leaving them with no grounds to even request bail. After the second trial commenced, Kevin still lost the case. He sold his house, became homeless, and had no job. Unable to bear the blow, he went to the tallest building in the city that very day and jumped to his death. And Jenna, with 3 lives on her hands, was sentenced to death by the court, to be carried out immediately. The former father-in-law and mother-in-law are heartbroken, but they cannot die. They still have a grandchild to care for who is crying for food. To this, I have only 2 words for them, and they are, serves them right. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.